She lies on her back in the snow, staring heavenward. The sky is a vast wide enmity, stretching endlessly above, and for a moment she feels she's falling, let loose from the tyranny of gravity and tumbling upward into the pale abyss. Her chest rises and falls as she watches her breath go up and dissipate into the other. Her outstretched hands form small cotton glove fists at her tearings, and they rake the snow as she brings them to her body. She is a sparse winter forest. She is in a spare winter forest. Trees all around her, naked now in the cold, vulnerable. It occurs to her that she is in the middle of a great arboreal graveyard, where the headstones rake the sky with fingers blackened by rigor mortis. A gentle breeze blows freezing powder across her face as she sucks in a sharp breath through clenched white teeth. The fine snow settles on her eyelashes, and she focuses on it. The sky blurred now as she tries to pick out the minute framework of the individual flakes. They were so small, they melt now and disappear onto her cheeks as she blinks them away. Her weakening heartbeat thunders as her reddening ears. The forest so quiet around her that the breeze becomes a hurricane wind, shrieking through the trees as twisted civeters. It occurs to her now that this is also her grave, frozen ground, insulated from the heat and hidden sun by so many layers of insulation. The white veil of cloud, the thin shelter of dead trees, the 18 inches of snow packed ice cradling her body. She begins to feel slow. Rhythmic vibrations shudder through the earth beneath her, like a footstep of a deliberate giant. They feel distant at first, but they are advancing. In a moment of crystal clarity, she realizes she really is dying. She is terrified, but her cool body is reluctant to feel the fear with her. Adrenaline tries to shoot through the hardening tunnels of her veins, but fails. There is no escape in her mind. She begins to feel like a floating sensation again, and behind her closed lids, she begins to forget things. Memories crust over in a thin rind of white frost. Icicles grow floor and ceiling over her childhood. Her mother's face freezes over so that her eyes loses all color and her features become chiseled in ice. The giant's footsteps are crashing all around her now. She is tossing helplessly in her tumbler. The banshee wind howls and her heart pounds, and then all is still. She opens her eyes very slowly. The lids stick at the edges, lashes frozen together. She looked up towards the sky, expecting to be greeted by an endless pale. "Oh," she said weakly. Towering above her is a giant. She stares dumbly at it, her eyes over her brain, tries to understand what it is seeing. It is titanic, as big as the sky, yet she can see all of it in perfect detail. God, she can't even smell it. A fecund cocktail of wet earth, fresh meat, and animal frailty that stings her cold nose. It walks on two massive legs and is everything. Her eyes drink in its immensity. Trees, roots covered in matted fur curl between exposed bones and strewn, studded here and there in a great mossy boulders. Green and brown undergrowth covers its body, and she can see life moving amongst it. Squirrels leap through the big trees in the chest, while below them deer grazed. It isn't looking at her, and for a moment, that is all she wants. The fear is gone, replaced by awe and great desire. She wants it to see her, to acknowledge her existence. She needs a witness to her life. She knows that it is this thing knows she is alive. She won't really have died, and so she musters all her remaining strength into a savage cry, putting all her fear, her rage, and her desire into it, letting it tear out of her body like a brutal birth. Her screams echo forever. The beast stands above her, swaying slightly in some wind that only it could feel. And then it turns and looks down at her, and she sees its face. It has a visage of a great skinless bear, and its eye sockets filled with orange light and drips embers. The fires, the flames of which becomes ash before they reach her. Great curving horns protrude from the side of its skull, and from the brow sprouts an impossible rack of antlers. It stares down, its fiery eyes fixing her in her gaze. It stares down, its fiery eyes fixing her in their gaze. Around its head revolves a ring of stars, and as though the sky is celebrating its presence with a vestment cut of its own flesh. And she realized that this thing is the sky, that it is the stars, the earth, it's everything. It reaches down toward her still form. She makes no move to get away. Its hand is covered in bark and fur and moss and fungi. It stretches one massive gnarled finger out, and she reaches out her tiny gloved hand to meet it. As their appendages touch, every nerve ending in her body explodes with sensation. Every synapse in her brain fires, and in the moment of her death, she finally understands life.